Hey, hello, and welcome to the Content Advantage, a talk show about content for content professionals. I'll be your host today and the moderator of this session of the Content Advantage. My guest today is with me, Akash Dubey. He's the Director of Technical Documentation and Localization at a company called iManage. Akash, welcome to the show.
Hi, Scott. Thanks for having me here.
Hi there. Before we start, let me tell the audience a little bit about the platform that we're using today. In case you're new to this will help you out a little bit. First, today's show is being recorded. So if any time you need to leave the show today a little early, don't fret. You may do so without losing any content. You can come back later, about a half an hour after the show ends. The same URL that you're using to watch today's live show can be used to watch a recording that you can view on demand. You can also share that link with others who can watch the show, and we hope that you'll do that as well. Don't worry, we can't see or hear you because we don't have access to your camera or your microphone, so there's no worries there. And if during the show you find yourself interested and would like to ask a question of the presenter, you may do so at any time by clicking the Ask a Questions tab located underneath your webinar viewing panel. Clicking that button will open a little text-based window to which you can type your question. If you'd like us to know your name, please append your question with your name so we can greet you and talk to you by name. Please know also that I cannot answer you back via text. So anything that you send it as a question, I'll try to queue up and ask as many questions of Akash as the time allows. Finally, there's some additional content, some handouts provided by the sponsor of our show today, Zoom In Software. There's also troubleshooting information in case you have any audio or video challenges, as well as information about our guest presenter and the topic of today's show, all located in the attachments section. Clicking that will open a little library where you can access that content anytime during the show. All right, without further ado, let's get this interview started. Let's see where we're going to begin today. So Akash, before we tackle the subject of the show, could you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and kind of your connection to the topic?
Sure. I work with iManage in the chilly Chicago city as Director of Technical Publications and Localization. I've been in the TechCom domain for over 20 years and have worked with multinationals such as HP, Siemens, Cisco, and EMC. I moved to the US a few years ago, but still have a very strong connection with the Indian tech writing community. And I continue to head India's largest and oldest community of technical writers and language professionals. It's called Tech Writers of India, TWIN. Regarding today's topic, we at iManage implemented a modified version of SAFE, that is Scaled Agile Framework. And we call it iSafe, not because we are Apple. We call it iSafe because it's iManage Safe. So this was done after witnessing a few issues with the regular agile practices. By the way, iManage is in the business of delivering content management solution that is built for industries like accounting, law firms, legal departments, and financial institutions. And it's, as I mentioned, headquartered in Chicago.
Can you tell us a little bit about how many employees are involved in creating content at iManage and how many are involved with what you're working on?
Yeah, there are about 800-ish employees in the company today, and we are hiring.
Excellent, excellent. So let's talk a little bit here about today's show, the Scaled Agile Framework, which sometimes is referred to as SAFE. Mm-hmm. SAFE addresses shortcomings with the Agile methodology used by many organizations already today. But before we dive in, let's level set so everybody else that's on the show will know what we're talking about. Akash, remind us what Agile is and explain how content teams participate in regular Agile projects.
Sure. So let me put this out first. I am not an Agile or SAFE guru. I have participated in both frameworks and I've seen the benefits and a few problems too of both the frameworks. So I'm here just to share those with you guys. I am in the TechCom domain. I just wanted to share what I have experienced and seen and witnessed and make sure that you guys also learn that and benefit from it. As you know that Agile has been around since early 2000s. It's more of an incremental, iterative development process. At the end of each iteration, a functional product is delivered to the client, which means you're delivering the product faster, right? And a likely increase of customers' happiness with that. The ultimate goal in Agile is always rapid delivery of high quality software. as we all know. And agile teams generally tend to be small. Writers are typically attached to more than one scrum teams, and they typically lag a sprint behind in some cases, or could be more. Sometimes they are in locksteps. Agile is great for small teams and small companies. It's really biased towards delivery. But there are many other aspects, such as transparency, prioritization, deployment, adoption, and so on, which are not easily addressed by Agile.
How would you, for a novice who said, okay, I get that, how would you describe the differences? What is different about this safe framework compared to just, I guess, out of the box agile framework, the way that we talk about it?
Mhm. So, SAFE is an approach to implementing Agile into daily operations, but it is meant for larger teams, larger organizations. SAFE was designed to accommodate the whole DevOps process, which is a method of constantly building, deploying, testing, and releasing the software. SAFE was developed using a very highly structured framework, which applies same agile concepts in a larger enterprise setting. So the goal is to deliver value, but at scale. That's the main goal. And I can share a slide which sort of gives you a sense of what I'm talking about.
Yes, let's do that.
So in this screen, as you can see that the requirements on the extreme left are coming in from all quarters of the organization. They're coming from support, consulting services, customers, product management, and many others, right? So how do you determine which one is more important than the other? If you're a small team like in Agile, you can quickly identify, brainstorm, and figure out which one you want to work first. But when you become a large company, which is what iManage faced as a problem, then identifying the right priority is a big challenge. So at iManage, teams share detailed info on how many customers the requirement impacts, what is the potential revenue, what would be the cost of delay if we do not deliver that feature, and many other things. All these are the different parameters which help us sort of rate or score the requirement, right? So when you have so much metadata essentially on a requirement, it helps product managers at the discovery stage, which is the leftmost stage at the idea, right after the idea where it's coming from. So at the discovery stage, the product managers are able to arrive at accurate score for all the requirements that are coming in from the left funnel. So anything that offers max value with lowest effort gets the top score, and that is pushed through the pipe first, right? You want to deliver value, but you want to deliver it quickly, the way you are doing in Agile. But here you are able to prioritize it and then develop. So teams stay together, in fact, in this process until the feature is deployed. So the bias is not on delivery as much, but on the deployment and adoption. That's when customers really realize the value, especially in a cloud environment.
Akash, could you help us understand where content professionals fit into the methodology?
Yeah. So writers in SAFE to participate the same way as they would in Agile. However, there are a few differences. In the Agile, processes need to be lightweight to follow, and the focus is on quick delivery. As I mentioned, it is biased towards delivery. And that puts tremendous pressure on teams to not come up with detailed functional requirements. The whole requirements is just sometimes missing. People want to get things done, get it done fast, right? And the use cases are missing for those features. However, in the case of SAFE, writers get the benefit of detailed requirements upfront. As I mentioned, at the discovery stage, which you're seeing on screen right now, the product managers had to evaluate and score the requirement. For them to do that, they had to really provide the detailed requirements with which the UX team could build the wireframes. So you have a very clear understanding right upfront what the requirement is all about. You get those initial wireframes. So you are able to get your work started much early.
And while I know that this is an adventure for you. And as you stated, you're not teaching a college course on this, or you haven't written a book on this yet. So you're not the world's biggest example or expert. But your company is trying to do this, or are you actively doing this today?
Yeah, that's right. We are implementing Agile and Safe, but so definitely with Safe teams are not. So here's the thing: with Safe teams are not throwing things over the wall for other teams to figure it out. Right? They work together, whether they are from the server team, a client team, or the QA team, right? And that's what is helping us at iManage. We are able to get the teams together, get the work done, and deliver value at the end of it. We are a cloud company. We want to make sure that we do regular delivery and regular value realization for our customers.
Do you feel that the SAFe methodology is a better methodology for your company, given its situation and what you're trying to accomplish?
Definitely. Definitely, I feel safe is a much better methodology. And as I said, teams are not throwing things over the wall for the other teams to figure it out. They work together.
Are there measurable aspects of this that would allow you to prove to, let's say, a leader who wanted to know, how do you know it's better?
Like I said, the teams work together, whether they are from server or client team, QA team, doc team, and they stay together until the cloud deployment and adoption is complete. That is, until customers really realize value. And that's what is important for the teams to know. Otherwise, many a times we just are focused on delivery. We don't even know whether the product was adopted, whether it really was deployed on time. So leaders get the benefit of getting that feedback from customers, and they can use that to iterate. Plus, the most important things, as a company, you are able to prioritize the right requirement to be delivered. So you are able to create that visibility, prioritize things, and then deliver things faster.
Great. And during earlier comment, I think you may have used an acronym. I didn't hear this, but a viewer is asking MBI. Did you use that intentionally? And if so, what were you trying to say? What does MBI mean?
Good question. Very good question. MBI is minimum business increment. The reason why you want MBI, so what we do is, yes, you want to deliver something to the customers, but is that complete? Would Does it have the right elements to deliver some value to the customer? So that's when we put the whole piece together and say, yes, though it is small, but it will deliver some value to the customer. It is complete in itself. And that's what we call it minimum business increment. So we put a lot of minimum business increments, MBIs, together for a particular development cycle. And that's called program increment. So within a program increment of pipe, you will see a lot of MBIs. There are a few enablers as well, because not everything is a feature. Sometimes you have to do certain things for the architecture. So those are the enablers. All of these things are put together as a package and delivered for that program increment.
Do you know of other companies or organizations that are attempting to adopt SAFe? And can you talk about those?
Yeah. So based on my research online, I understand that a lot of companies are implementing SAFe or have already implemented SAFe. A few of them, namely Cisco, Barclays, Panera Bread, Ericsson, John Deere, Fitbit, all are implementing SAFe in different departments. May not have been across the board, but they have started implementing SAFe. Even HP, I recently heard from one of my industry colleagues who that HP also tried out SAFe.
When you were doing your research, what else did you stumble into when you were searching for, hey, what can I find out about SAFe?
So I was just interested in knowing the way iManage tweaked Safe. Did others do the same thing? So here's the beauty of Safe framework. It is not prescriptive. It just provides guidance that here are some of the best practices from different software development methodologies, be it and in fact even hardware. So they are not really focused on software as much, but more of a development methodologies, be it Agile, be it many other lean frameworks. So they've taken the best of different frameworks and put it as some kind of guidelines that, hey, if you follow this for your organization, you will be able to scale, he will be able to first be able to prioritize the right work and then be able to deliver that.
And I think you use the magic word there, which is scale, which I think is becoming one of the most popular words on our shows. Um, we tend to hear the answer, it depends, to at least one question on every show. And now we're hearing the scale answer. How has SAFE demonstrably helped you scale?
So here's what SAFE helps you do. You can scale if you can operationalize the chaos. There are a lot of requirements. Everybody is sending you some request. Either it could be for tech pubs or it could be for development team. So in the organization, several people are coming at you and asking for content or for some kind of a feature. How do you make sure that it is developed in a consistent manner across the board? And for that, first, what you have to do is you should be able to take in from in the funnel everything, but then be able to prioritize it. And after creating that visibility, because you need to tell people who have shared the requirement that yes, we are working on what you have shared with us, but here's when it will come. See the other requirements. Yours is sitting maybe at the 10th one because others have higher score. So once they see that, they know that it is going to come, but there are other higher important items. So that's one thing, you create that visibility. Once the visibility is in place, then people start working on all the prioritized items. And now you have a model wherein teams are supposed to stay together, see the value being delivered to customers, and if there are changes required, they iterate over it and continue that whole cycle over and over again. So you are able to sort of operate at a scale and are able to give visibility to the entire organization and not just to one team of that scrum.
With that said, it seems like this helps you to set expectations for people who might be participating somewhere, in the value chain there to create this value for the customer, but they don't know exactly where their priority is. Am I a priority? Is my part of the project a priority? Do you feel like that helps answer that question and set expectations properly when there's a resource that people can go to and they can see where they fit?
Exactly. That's what happens because earlier, a lot of things would come at my team as an example, and they will all wonder why is it taking him so long or his team so long to deliver this. But when they see that there were 100 other requests that had come in, and because we have accurately scored them on different parameters, how many customers does it impact? What is the revenue that we can gain out of this? What would be the impact if we delay this? So there are several things on which the score has been using which score has been identified. When we give those scoring and rate things, they know exactly why their priority is sitting at number 10 or number 100.
Oh, we've needed this for a long time. Um, the aha moment I was having there was the revenue thing. Could you touch on that for a minute? Because I'll give you an example. I once worked in an environment where the writing team um, struggled to agree upon a smooth segue between two paragraphs in a very important document. The very important document was the challenge, not the smooth segue. But to the writers, the smooth segue was the most important thing. We had to call the client and basically say, do you require a smooth segue between paragraphs? And they were like, absolutely not. What we need is the information. So are you finding that this kind of approach by adding the value that you could bring in through revenue helps people understand why they're not a priority or somebody else's feature is?
Yes, and I'll give you a certain specific example. Recently, we realized that we have to go to a new market, and that market required content in their native language. Now, if I were to do that, that means I have to factor in the localization cost. And based on that, I would be able to then say, do I have the resources to support this requirement? How important is this ask? Once I gather that, because that is directly linked to revenue, the moment you support that particular language, you will be able to go to that new market. And if you don't, you're going to lose the revenue. So with content, just content alone, same product, we are not making any change, just providing content in additional language, the UI labels, the documentation, everything. Just by supporting that, we are able to go to a new market. So there you can see the linkage between revenue and content in just a different language. So once I tell that story to people who are asking for more things from me, I can say, do you want to go here or not? If you tell me no, I'll stop. I'll continue to work on what I have to work today. So you make a choice. I'm not saying no. And that's what I've learned over a period of time. Don't say no, give people options.
What do you think the benefits to a technical communication management team are for adopting this framework? Is there the ability to see things you might not be able to see before without this level of granularity?
So SAFE is just another way of project management. That's what I see it as. You can apply the aspects of SAFE for your environment. You need not have it implemented at the org level. For tech pubs alone, if you want to take aspects of SAFE and certain components and apply it for project management, you can. And that's what I realized. So what we did for our team, we started using the aspects of SAFE of how do we create that visibility, because requirements keep coming in, the backlog keeps growing. How do we give that scoring after having the discussion on what score, how do we arrive at a score? Once people have common understanding of the score, we rate every requirement, and it may take some time, but it is worth the effort. We rate all the requirements, stack rank them, and give people visibility and say, this is what we plan to prioritize. Is that the right priority? If you want to shift something, please help us. And you can pick and choose. I am not coming in the way. I'll help you execute.
Do you have advice for TechCom teams that might just have learned about SAFE and they be or beginning their journey? Are there any lessons you learned on your journey that you could share with them to either prevent them from making some challenging or encountering obstacles, or to kind of plan how to best make it successful?
Yeah, I think some of the best practices would be to make sure that you talk to people who are doing the discovery, because they are the ones who are identifying the requirements. And if you are on the same page with them, you know exactly what to prioritize and how do you arrive at the score for your teams as well. That's very important. The other aspect is be just look at the dashboards, make sure that you know what, how the priority has been arrived at, what is it that's being delivered for that program increment, so that you can align your resources to those requirements. And when you cannot, because what we learned is for more than 2 mbis we were not able to deliver documentation. Max on the higher side, if the mbi is small, it was 3. So we could do 2 to 3 mbis per program increment. That's about it, not more than that. So have the conversation with the development team to say, this is what I'm able to deliver in a regular program increment. If we want to deliver more, then I need to staff my resources, have more resources in my team. So those are the conversations then you can have and start planning for next year, and accordingly have discussion with your leaders.
Thank you for that. This is probably a good time for me to stop just for a second and tell our audience members I'd like to thank our sponsor today, Zoom In Software. For those of you who don't know about Zoom In, let me tell you a little bit about it. It's a platform that ingests product content from virtually any source you have, no matter if it was created or published in a different way with structure or without. It really doesn't matter. And you can deliver that content to multiple channel outputs, including the web, maybe a documentation portal, right inside your data, your community, your online community, or even in a web-based product themselves. Zoom In can help you improve customer experiences by making it super easy for customers to find the answers they're looking for, no matter where the answers are coming from. If you'd like to learn more about how Zoom In software can help your organization provide excellent content experience for your customers, visit them on the web at zoominsoftware.com, or if you look in the attachments section underneath your webinar viewing panel, you can click through and actually see some materials from Zoom In. There are some downloadable documents as well as some links to the Zoom In website. All right, our commercial responsibilities are done now. I'm going to ask you another question. This one comes from an audience member. Akash, one of our audience members wants to know, How does SAFe and the MBI handle transverse processes like safety? Are they completely dropped out? Um, this person says they can't help but have the Boeing Max 8 come to mind.
So can you sort of rephrase the question for me? Help me understand what exactly.
I wish that I had more information. The only context I have are the words on the screen. So unless this
Okay.
person submits a more clear question, we may have to jump past this one to another one until they come back. But I think in the documenting of assembly and disassembly and things of that nature with a physical item like an airplane, there are definitely safety concerns. I'm not sure if this is a valid part of the responsibility for SAFe or not.
So here's what I would say. Any business requirement needs to factor in different aspects of your business.
Mm.
It varies from business to business. So if your scoring system includes security as one of the key things, it has to have. Example being, even in a software world, today security takes highest precedence. So we are ensuring when we deliver something to cloud, it is secure. So security plays a very big role. So if something is going to take extra time because it has to be secure, then we need to factor that in. But at the same time, certain markets, maybe if you're going, your software is going to go to Department of Defense, or it's going to go to some of the larger banks where safety is the most important thing, and those are your primary customers, and you will not be able to deliver your product there. You got to factor that in and say this is a key thing.
What advantages do you see for your team now that you're using SAFe?
Yeah, so for my team, the biggest advantage, as I've already mentioned, that I see is the we are able to create that visibility. With visibility, we know exactly what we will be delivering. We are able to scale better because now people are not complaining that why you're not delivering certain things that we had asked you. They themselves understand where they fit in the larger scheme of things. So that's the biggest advantage that I see with Safe. Second big advantage, writers are able to get very clear requirements upfront because product managers had to use those requirements to arrive at the score, right? So now we are getting the advantage of those requirements, and we know exactly, and not just requirements, they have even use cases in them. So we use those and we understand the requirements. Very soon the UX wireframe gets built. We are able to use that to build our initial draft. So that definitely has helped in a big way. In Agile, a lot of teams they just started developing the software and we wait for a first build to come out to know what exactly is going on.
I really like that approach. Do you see any different kinds of problems that you saw before you started SAFe? I mean, like, SAFe solves some problems, but is it possible that you introduce a few problems or at least challenges?
I think there was some bit of slowness initially when Safe was being implemented because teams were trying to understand how to implement Safe, and there were some misfires, there were some missteps initially when we were implementing Safe. But over a period of time, we learned from our mistakes, especially in terms of getting large teams together and not being able to sort of swiftly move forward. Right, some features got held up and customers were complaining that why is it taking so long for the organization to react. So when you are implementing safe at that large scale, things do slow down. So somebody higher up, the execs, have to stop the flow and say for some time we are going to let safe implementation happen, and while that is happening, let teams learn this new process and then start delivering. And all that takes time. So somebody should be committed at really at the exec level to say, we will make sure that the teams are able to implement safe.
We're going to take some questions from the audience. If you're an audience member and you'd like to ask a question of Akash, you can use the Ask a Questions button located underneath your webinar viewing panel. You can click on that button. It'll open up a little text-based window into which you can type your question. And please add your name if you'd like us to know who asked the question. Here's a question for you, Akash. One of our viewers wants to know, what keeps you awake at night in your job?
Good question. So what typically keeps me awake is the ability to deliver on the expectation. Many a times we deliver, we do not get enough feedback. That's the biggest challenge. Do we get the right feedback from our customers? We have a portal, but nobody really reacts to that. Very rarely we get feedback. If there is some feedback, it's only when somebody is unhappy. But when we do a good job, is somebody validating that? So getting the right input, understanding customer use cases and what they really want is something that I keep thinking about, that how do we create those channels of communication directly with our customers and partners who are consuming our content.
And are you trying to deliver I manage content to different audience members, different delineate the content, kind of personalize each experience for different groups of people, or are you producing one set of content for everybody?
We definitely have different personas, and there are different teams catering to so many different types of audiences. And I'll give you examples. We have partners, and within partners, there are different types of partners. We have resellers, we have implementation partners, we have technology partners, we have training partners, we have support partners. Each partner type has a different need, and they all need content, and we support all these teams in different ways. Within customer, we have different personas. You have the IT admins, you have actual end users, and you also have some teams that have developers. So some companies who want to customize our product. So there are these all these personas, and we have to ensure that we are able to deliver content for all these personas.
And do you feel like the safe methodology is helping you do that better at scale, or was that something that's separate from the methodology that's not really impacted by it?
In some ways, it is definitely helping us, because with SAFE, we are able to prioritize. That's the most important thing. Whenever there is a requirement from a tech partner that comes in, we are able to put it in that common bucket and say, hey, you know what? This is a new requirement. But with this new, say, tech partner extension, we will be able to address some of the pain points of large banks, as an example. So that becomes part of our prioritization exercise. We rate higher score to that. So once we bubble that up, we are able to take that in and be able to implement it and deliver it.
Debbie wants to know if you could talk a little bit about the publishing systems that you use, the tools and the standards that you use to help you achieve your goals.
We, within the organization, consciously implemented wiki-based authoring environment. The reason we did that, and I do not want to use the brand name, Wiki, you should be able to sort of interpret which is a popular Wiki system. We deliberately did that because collaboration was very important for me. Many a times when we have an authoring environment which requires you to send a PDF out to someone, that person marks his or her content in PDF, comments in PDF, sends you back, then you are not able to sort of keep all the comments in one place from everybody. PDFs are coming from different people and comments are coming from different teams through emails. And that's not the best way. With wiki based system, it was easier to see all the comments, which are resolved, which are not resolved. And we did not have to send out PDFs. We had to just send a link. It was easy for people to directly edit. Many a times people ask for a Word document and say, hey, instead of PDF, can you send me Word? I like track changes more. So creating another type of output, that is Word, a .doc file, is another challenge, right? So the best way to collaborate across the board, be it professional services, support, um, um, and development, all of them, product management, it became very easy for us at scale.
Here's a follow up question from one of our viewers. Feature work is granular, they say. How does broader teamwork get included when it isn't directly related to customer value?
When say broader teamwork, are we referring to some initiatives that I just want to understand that?
I only have those words.
Got it, got it. So, yeah, and I totally get that. So I'm just going to assume that probably the person is asking for there are feature related documentation that you need to deliver, but in addition to that, there are certain initiatives and other things that you have to work on. Very good question. In fact, our right now we are working on a content strategy again across the board, whole of iManage, teams from marketing professional services, special services, support, tech pubs, training. Everybody has come together. All those who produce content have come together and have decided to align the work with SAFE. The reason why we are doing that, again, for the same reason, because requirements are same. They keep coming in. They're just the type of work is different. We produce content, development team just creates features. So essentially, if we can combine all of it, that hey, say features are is what we need to work on. In addition to that, we need to work on these initiatives and some programs, campaigns. How should we collectively, as content team, pick it up? How do we rate it, and then stack rank them, and then pick up the right prioritized item? So Safe is helping there as well.
Here's another question from the audience member. How do you make writer assignments? For example, is it one writer per MBI or one writer per program increment or something else?
Good question. I sort of covered it earlier that one writer is able to cater to two or up to three MBIs. That's what we are doing. And within a program increment for that solution, all the writers in my team contribute pretty much, if unless it's a completely different solution, which is not part of that program increment. So in that sense, it is not very different from Agile. They participate in daily Scrum meetings, and that's what they do. But MBI, to just repeat, one writer is able to do 2 to 3 MBIs.
What do you like? This is the last question so far. What do you like about the SAFE framework that you would share with others if you were to encourage them to adopt the approach because their company might need the same kinds of benefits?
Yeah. As I mentioned, and I'm just going to repeat myself, the most important thing is prioritization, visibility, alignment. If teams come together and they can align on a common goal and say, collectively, we are going to deliver this, that's when you are able to prioritize things and pick the right item. Otherwise, every team, be it tech pubs, be it development, sales, marketing, everybody has their own agenda, their own initiatives, and they think that's the most important. How do we get people on the common page and say, collectively, we need to deliver this, and this should be the stack ranking? That's what SAFE has done for us. It has brought everybody on a common page.
And if you would give any advice to somebody who would want to start off on their own SAFE adventure, and let's say manager of a tech pubs team, excuse me, I'm sorry, I had to pause.
Sure.
What would that advice be for them to get started? Where do they start to look before they dive in and end up in a place that might be uncomfortable?
Well, there are enough and more articles available online about SAFE. You can read up on those. Start small. I'm talking about scale, but at the same time saying start small. It's oxymoronish at the moment. But what you can do is you can try out something. Try it out only for your department first. Show them how you have come up with a safe model for tech pubs, and the whole idea of showing, giving visibility, prioritization, and then delivering. Once they see that how you are scoring and how you are giving them visibility and executing using a new framework, they may like it. They may want to then sort of apply it in maybe another department and not across the board. Again, nobody will adopt things just because you have it. People take time, they do not like to change. So always start small, show those quick wins, and then take it forward. To really apply it across the board, you may have to hire a consultant who understands SAFE, can guide you, because there are role changes as well when you bring in SAFE. So you may need some bit of guidance if you have to apply it across the board for your organization.
We have one more question that came in from the audience that I think we have time to answer, so let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
This person says there are so many or too many stand-ups to attend in the agile development world. How would you manage a writing team that's under-resourced and supports multiple feature agile teams?
Yeah, and that's exactly the reason why I said that we do not assign writers to more than two, or max, if it is a small feature, 3 MBIs, so that it is manageable for them. The reason why we do that, safe, at least it doesn't, it's not prescriptive, but at least it says make sure teams are together till the deployment happens. Now that's very difficult to do. if we assign too many MBIs to a writer. So to keep it manageable, so that people can attend those meetings daily, so they even alternate. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Wednesday and Friday, they may attend one particular group's meeting, and on other days they may attend another group meeting. At the same time, if it is manageable, they may be in just two meetings. Then in a day, they should be able to do two meetings, which is again a stand-up meeting. Stand-up meeting is never too long. So that's how we are able to keep it manageable.
And I had a question that dawned on me before we exit, which might help some of the managers that are asking questions of us today. In the Olympics, in the Olympic diving competitions, there is a thing known as the difficulty factor, and they score the diver's effort based partially on how difficult the maneuver is that they're trying to do. And so, is there a scoring mechanism that comes into play that helps you understand how difficult a writer's feature request work might be, so that you could not just say, "Hey, we've given everybody two, you know, features to document, but we know how difficult they are. So the ones that are less difficult, maybe we give four to that person because they can manage it. Whereas maybe one person only gets one MBI because it's a challenging one to accomplish."
Yes, we definitely have to factor that in. The complexity does play a big role. So you can't, like I said, you can't just use the same brush and paint everything and say everybody is going to get three MBIs. It doesn't work that way. The value stream that we have in that MBIs are essentially delivering value. We are able to determine what the score should be, and we also factor in complexity in that. In fact, something that can quickly be done, that gets the highest score because you can deliver value faster. So complexity is a big factor when we come up with a score.
So you're saying the score is directly connected to the value that it will provide and the quickness with which you can deliver the value,
Yes, yes,
as opposed to the difficulty of the dive.
that's true. That's true.
Okay, great. That ought to help some people figure that out a little bit in their own companies. Well, Akash, thank you for sharing what you're doing at iManage. I appreciate it. I know that you love to encourage other people in the technical communication space to try new things and to kind of, show off where they can and show their value. And I know teaching people things is as part of your passion and part of who you are. It's in your DNA. So thank you for joining us and doing it here on the Content Wrangler webinar program. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me here.
You're welcome. And audience members, since I wanted to thank Akash and for making time to be on our show today, I now want to also thank you and tell you about some upcoming shows that we have in the near future. So first, one of the shows that you're going to want to know about is Finding and Using Content Metrics, December the 7th. That's 2 weeks from now. The show that you're watching today is called The Content Advantage. Our next Content Advantage show takes place 2 weeks from now with Swomini Sampath. She is the manager of technical communication and other content creation at MathWorks. And she's been working with her teams to find and use content metrics in the work that they do. She's got some great ideas for places for you to look for hidden metrics that might be of value. So you definitely want to check out that show. And on the same day, Kevin Nichols, who plays the role of the Personalization Wrangler, has a show on the Content Wrangler Network called Let's Talk Personalization. He's going to be interviewing Vijay Hanumolu on how to deal with personalization in a digital transformation project, where it sits and what kinds of activities you might be participating in if you're attempting to do both of those things at the same time. On Let's Talk Content Operations, December 9th, Rahel Ann Bailey will be interviewing Adrian Warman on some interesting topic that I'm not really sure because it's not my area of expertise, but understanding how geometry drives personalization. If you're a math person, that might be very interesting, although my sense is it's more than math that they're going to be talking about. And December 9th, we'll have Cruz Saunders on how to connect content systems so you can orchestrate content across a decoupled content supply chain, or basically anywhere in the enterprise that you might need it. And last but certainly not least, we have a show just before the holidays, just before Christmas. We have Let's talk about cars and content. This should be a super fun show with Nicholas Horn. We're going to talk about how structured content is being used to create in-vehicle help systems in all kinds of cars, different brands from different companies. It'll be an interesting show and should be a little bit of fun as well. You've been watching The Safe Content Strategy with Akash Dubey, who was talking to us today about his efforts at iManage to align content strategy with the scaled Agile framework, which is also known as SAFE. You can find information about that on the web, and also check the attachments section of our webinar viewing panel to access information if you'd like to reach out to Akash directly, or to the sponsor of today's show, Zoom In Software, who we appreciate for being here and making this show possible. Before we sign off, I'd like to also ask you to take a moment to let us know what you thought of today's show. You can use the Rate This tab located in your webinar viewing panel to give us a 1 through 5 star rating, which would let Akash know what you thought about the quality of the information that he shared today. Feel free to use the text box provided to leave a comment for Akash or to suggest a topic or a guest for a future episode of the Content Advantage. All right, without further ado, I'd like to thank you once again for coming here and paying attention to us and our show. We hope that you will be well, be safe, and keep doing great work. Until then, we'll see you on another episode of the Content Advantage Talk Show. Thanks for joining us. Scott Abel signing off.
Ensure your customers find the answers they need with Zoom In. Bring together product content from all teams and sources to deliver a unified, personalized content experience. Check us out at www.zoominsoftware.com.
Bye, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks. Stay safe.
Thanks.